doing things. We had birthdays.
Okay.
We celebrated birthdays monthly. We Christmas. We did gifts. Then that kind of came not to be so good because people were giving good gifts but receiving bad gifts.
I see.
So people wanted to drop out of that because of that, which is bad.
That's a shame.
But
you're gonna get that.
But
sometime.
we did have fun doing it. But the Lord just changed the whole choir around. Situations had came up that He allowed to come up for reasons.
So what happened with that made the change happen, and kind of lead us through how that happened?
The choir was going through a transition.
Okay.
First of all, the other choirs, this is not bragging or boasting or anything, it just is what it is.
Okay.
No other choir had a newsletter.
Okay.
And the feedback that was going out was welcome and appreciated. It was something new. And continuing changes were happening in our choir. My choir directress was moving on, and it seemed like me and her were moving on at the same time. So it was being rumored that I was leaving because she was leaving, which was not the case.
Were you going to the same place, or
no?
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So it was rumored that I was leaving because she was leaving, which was not so. Because I don't worship any person but God.
All right.
But she was actually a good director. She even let me direct the choir sometime. What was in you, she saw it and pulled it out of you.
So that was her gift.
That was her gift, to pull it out of you. And when this had happened, the choir just seemed to do a turn. So some people were leaving, some were staying, and that type of thing. In the meantime, I was going to stop the newsletter.
I see.
And I just said, okay, since I'm not in the choir anymore, I don't have to do the newsletter anymore. But the Lord said, not so. And I'll never forget these words. I was in my apartment at my computer, and this is what He told me. God said, I did not tell you to stop writing the newsletter. Continue it, but it will be for women. And I was like, wow, what does that mean?
Yeah, I was going to really say, what in the world does
I didn't know. I had no clue what I was getting myself into.
Well, you know what? It's interesting. What the Lord does is He'll give you bits and pieces of information.
Yes.
And some is for now.
Yes.
Some explains some things that happened in the past, so that it gives you clarity. And then some things are for the future. Yes. And then we have to wait and go by the leading of the Holy Ghost. I don't know if that's been experienced with you. It has been with me. As to what goes where.
Yes.
And so we just wait and we listen, of course, and we see what direction the Lord leads.
Yes.
So what happened at that point with you?
At that point, I came out with my first topic was dirty mouth, and that was volume 1.
So this is a newsletter?
Yes.
Okay. And so was the newsletter called Dirty Mouth, or that was the subject matter of the newsletter?
The subject matter was dirty mouth.
Okay.
The name of the newsletter at that time was Women of Faith in God.
Really?
And He actually gave me that topic. I'm a former GM employee. Okay. I was at work that afternoon, and that's when He gave me that topic, dirty mouth. I was reading Joyce
How
Meyer.
Appropriate, yes.
Lord, help me to keep my big mouth shut.
Okay.
That's what I was reading. And within reading that book, that's when He gave me the title for the first newsletter that I had no clue that was going on.
Okay. So you didn't know that there was going to be a newsletter?
No.
So He gave you a topic for a newsletter that you didn't know was going to exist because you had already discontinued what He gave you to do to begin with.
Yes.
Because you thought that it was you doing something for the choir when in fact He had a much bigger picture.
Correct.
And then with no disrespect to you, but how appropriate as the Lord does with our messages are always for us first.
Correct.
So would you say you had a big mouth or a dirty mouth at the time? Maybe
yes,
not.
I did.
Maybe not cursing and swearing, but you know.
No, but I was, and I was actually around that. In the department that I was in, I was the oldest.
Okay.
And all of them under me.
Well, you're not that old yourself.
No, I'm 48.
Okay.
But I went in there with my mindset that I had a job to do. I had bills and stuff to take care of. And while I was in this atmosphere, I prayed to the Lord that we would not have cursing.
Okay.
and disrespect among one another. Yes,
Right.
they had their boom boxes playing and rap music.
Right.
I kind of got used to that, and they gave me a name within the department. They called me Mama Gigi. So I did get respect, and I know it's nothing but the Lord of the favor, and I thank Him for that, because they never did disrespect me. They would see me coming, and they would say, "Oh, here come Mama Gigi. Y'all know y'all got to turn that down." And I would just laugh and keep walking.
Right.
But we all had respect for one another, and I really think it was nothing but God that did that. Even the last day, which is another testimony I'll tell at a later time.
Okay.
We still ended with respect for one another.
Okay.
But it was cursing and stuff over there. So when people would come to our department, I would stop in my boldness, not knowing that's not allowed over here.
Telling them this, of course.
Yeah, and they would give me the eye and look me up and down like, who do
you think you are?
But then the Lord was still working. I prayed and anointed that area that no one knew of.
Okay.
So it was set. The atmosphere was set every afternoon, from the time we were there to sometime we would get off work till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Did you have to come in early to do that? Or?
Yes, and there was people there, but no one knew what I was doing because I had already anointed myself and my hands.
No,
and I would walk around and touch different parts.
Ah, okay.
Where I would be at.
Here's another thing that's interesting as I'm listening to you. Did you expect when you prayed initially for the atmosphere that you wanted at the workplace? Did you expect that God would use you to anoint the place and do those things?
No.
Or were you just asking Him and saying, okay, like most people do, okay, Lord, you do this. I've asked, I've prayed, and okay, you do your thing.
Yes.
And He said,